Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Kyle Longton. He's the CEO and Executive Vice President of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. Kyle, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
This association is not a household name in providers of insurance and so forth, so give us a quick history of it.
We have a somewhat narrow audience, or at least we did for much of our history. We date back to 1929, and for much of our history, we were only open to members of the Foreign Service. That started to change in the mid-90s. We started opening up to civil servants at state, then to Department of Defense civilians overseas, and then all DOD. And since that time, it's just been increasing, including Homeland Security, the intelligence community, and beyond. So we're not just for the Foreign Service anymore.
But there's a theme there, though, that it seems to be employees of the federal government that could be kinetically engaged at some point in their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. Our focus is on those who are serving overseas, I should say foreign affairs, or for intelligence gathering or national defense, or those who are supporting them stateside. And so that has been our mission. Those are the groups that we serve. And we have a special focus on those who are living, working, and in particular, receiving their health care overseas.
Right. So what are the special problems or special challenges of overseas care?
Right.
What do you bring to this?
Yeah, well, check your network listing for any federal health provider, and you will see that pretty much there isn't a network overseas for the most part. Mm-hmm. And so we take the approach that every provider outside the United States is considered in-network. So we pay them at the higher rate. We also will treat whatever the provider bills overseas as the plan allowance. We're not going to reduce it to a stateside fee schedule. This works, and it's particularly helpful to our members if they're in high-cost areas, which does happen in some places overseas. We also recognize that treatment overseas can be different, and this manifests itself particularly in what we refer to as our alternative benefits. So we cover massage therapy, acupuncture, and chiropractic services. Every member of the Foreign Service Benefit Plan gets 50 of each of those treatments every year, and we reimburse up to $75. They don't have to have a doctor's referral or anything like that. They want a massage, they can go get almost one a week.
So in other words, you tailor the benefits to the situation, the economics, if you will, and practices of medicine where the people are.
Absolutely, and we have a clinical team that is devoted to our overseas folks. We have claims processors who are fluent in German, but only medical terms. And so we are really focused on this. We even have an expat team on our pharmacy benefit manager to help get drugs to our members overseas or help them understand what's available.
But are you pretty good for those that are based in the United States?
We like to think so. We absolutely, because even as our membership continues to grow, we've only got about 35% of our membership overseas. So the other 65% are in the U.S., and they've got access to one of the largest networks in the United States through Aetna. They also have fantastic benefits, including 90% coverage for in-network services, and they have the option to go out-of-network as well, and we still cover 70% of the plan allowance when they choose to do so. So they've got a lot of options there, including special programs like wellness programs and expert second opinion services.
And just to touch on the overseas situation, many U.S. federal employees are in places that don't have the medical infrastructure of a Great Britain, of France, of Germany, and so forth. And what happens to the really, well, let's just call it primitive areas that people might find themselves in?
Yeah, I've heard the term medically austere used by the Department of State. And so, a lot of times those are our folks assigned to the embassies and consulates. And so they've got some support through the State Department, the local missions there. But for our members, we also offer telehealth services through a program we call V-Health overseas, both for general medical consultations as well as for mental health. And so we've got a lot of support. We've got wellness programs that are accessible, coaching programs that are accessible around the world, as well as support for chronic care management. One of the things we're opening up next year for our members overseas, so this starts in 2025, is a preventive care coaching program specifically for members. It was designed for members who don't have that local support, to help them understand what the lab results mean, understand the actions they should be taking to manage their health, particularly if they have a chronic condition.
And also to tell them, don't take that or don't do that you might get from the locals.
Exactly.
in certain places.
Exactly. And the program's designed to provide some translation services of local information. As I mentioned, we've got the second opinion service stateside. We also have one overseas, both for adults and a special one for children, so people can understand the diagnoses and understand the treatments that are being recommended. But if they're in an emergency situation, we also have a 24-hour emergency translation line that members can use whenever they need it in an urgent or emergent situation.
All right. And, one of the growing areas, and this is driven partly by policy from the Office of Personnel Management, but also because of something that people want, and that is infertility treatments and so on. Tell us what you're doing in that area.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, and I don't think this will be new information to folks that this is growing. Federal plans are taking a new approach to this, but in 2023, OPM cracked open the door for plans to cover more services related to infertility. We pushed it open. We started covering more than was required, and in 2024, we covered both the required prescription drug side for advanced reproductive technologies or ART services like IVF, but we're also covering the medical side. And in 2025, we're expanding and easing access for our members to take advantage of services like intrauterine insemination, IUI, and other artificial insemination without some of the requirements that are in place today. So we're trying to make that more accessible and improve health equity in that area.
And for federal annuitants, to keep moving on a new topic, they often care about the interaction with Medicare plans.
Yep, and we are glad to offer a lot of options for our members. We have a Medicare Advantage plan that includes a Part D for our members who are interested in that. It's been surprisingly popular. Members have engaged in that, and the membership continues to grow. They can come and go from that program throughout the year as it meets their needs. And then for those members, because we have a high number who don't take Medicare Part B, we wanted to find savings for them as well. And so in 2024, we launched a Medicare prescription drug plan, and that's going to continue into 2025. It's an opt-in program rather than an auto-enrollment program in 2025, but members can see incredible savings on their out-of-pocket costs for prescription drugs, including specialty drugs.
And a lot of annuitants like to and choose to keep their FEHB plans from Legacy. Are you part of that? And maybe explain how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. So if our members have Medicare A and or B, they have that. Of course, those plans, the Medicare will pay primary. We come in and pay secondary, and we waive our calendar year deductible. We waive the cost sharing, and we come in and we'll actually pay, if a member goes to a provider who technically does not participate with Medicare and charges up to that extra 15%, we'll cover that extra 15% for our members above the Medicare limiting charge.
And you've got a long list of other quote-unquote health services that you're offering. Maybe run through those for us.
So, our history goes back. We started initially to offer life insurance to our members. We still offer life insurance in addition to 4 dental plans, including an overseas dental plan, dental and vision discount, a hearing aid discount program, disability plans, and including some things that are unique to our members, including a members of household plan. And then beyond that, we have some professional service partnerships. I have a feeling in the next couple months we're going to hear a lot about federal long-term care insurance. We have a partnership with long-term care professionals who will sit down, go over plans, go over options on an individual basis. We also have legal consultations and financial planning, including a wellness platform that we offer through our partnership with Prudential, free of charge to AFSPA members, helps them with budgeting, as well as debt reduction and other programs.
Yes, and on that point of the long-term disability, those aren't being offered through FEHB at the moment, so we don't know when that's going to restart. So it sounds like you have a way to connect people with plans that are affordable that might be through the other external route.
Right. We've been offering long-term care insurance plans since 1990. We don't offer the plans directly anymore. We work with long-term care professionals. This is all they do, and they offer free consultations to members around the world. They'll ask where they want to. Do they want to retire stateside? Do they want to retire overseas? Stay in their home? Are they comfortable going to a continuing care community? Whatever their desire is, they can find them a plan that works for them, or review existing coverage to make sure that it is exactly what they need. But this is outside of the federal program. You're absolutely right. This is acknowledging it's not a one-size-fits-all area of coverage.
And you're something of a unique type of guy. You're not only the CEO of a healthcare insurance provider, but also something of an influencer, it looks like.
From your lips, I hope that's true. But we do a number of things to try to keep in touch with our members. We have a podcast. Members can find that. Search for AFSPA Talks. We also do a live broadcast once a month, usually on the last Thursday of the month. Around the holidays, we move that up a week usually. But we're out there to answer members' questions live during that broadcast, or they can submit them ahead of time. But we also do webinars throughout open season and a number of other events. So they can find all of that information at afspa.org/events.
My guest today has been Kyle Longton. He's the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Vice President of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. I'm Federal Drive host Tom Temin. You're watching Federal News Network. Let's go back to the studio now for more on the open season exchange.